Admiral Park stood at the observation window of Earth Command, watching the blue planet below. His gray uniform carried the marks of 30 years of service. Behind him, the command center buzzed with activity. Officers moved between stations, their faces tense with concern. "Admiral, incoming transmission from Ambassador," a young officer announced. Turned away from the window, "Put her through." The holographic display flickered to life. Ambassador appeared, her expression grave. She stood in the grand chambers of the Galactic Council, surrounded by towering alien delegates from a dozen worlds. The chamber's crystalline walls reflected strange lights from distant suns. "Admiral Park, the Council has made an urgent request," said. Her voice remained steady, but noticed the slight tremor in her hands. "A massive threat has appeared in the Outer Rim. They need our fleet immediately." Frowned, "What kind of threat?" "They call it the Void Swarm. Unknown vessels, highly aggressive. The Council's defense forces are stretched thin. They're requesting military support from all member species." Paused. "They specifically asked for Earth's fleet. They say our tactical abilities are crucial." Something felt wrong. Had learned to trust his instincts over 3 decades of military service. The Council had never praised human tactical abilities before. They had always treated Earth as the newcomers, the primitives who barely understood galactic politics. "How many ships do they want?" asked. "They're asking for 90% of our fleet," replied. "They say the threat is that serious." The command center fell silent. Every officer turned to look at the Admiral. 90% meant leaving Earth nearly defenseless. It meant trusting the Council completely. "I'll need to consult with Earth's government," said carefully. "Admiral, they need an answer within 6 hours. The Void Swarm is moving fast." His image flickered slightly. "I believe them. The other ambassadors are frightened. I've never seen them like this." After the transmission ended, called an emergency meeting. Within an hour, his senior staff gathered in the war room. Captain, the intelligence officer, arrived last. His face looked pale. "Sir, we have a problem," said immediately. "I've been monitoring Council communications. Something doesn't add up." "Explain," ordered. Activated a data display. "The Council claims this Void Swarm appeared 3 days ago, but I found encrypted transmissions going back 2 weeks. They mention Operation Silence. They mention Earth specifically." He highlighted several communication nodes. "Admiral, I think this is a trap." Chief Engineer Lee leaned forward. "That's a serious accusation, Captain. The Council has kept peace for 200 years. "I know what I found," insisted. "These transmissions were heavily encrypted. I only caught them because I've been running new decryption algorithms." Studied the data. His gut told him was right, but his head knew the political reality. Earth had joined the Galactic Council 50 years ago. Refusing their request would mean isolation, possibly sanctions. Earth's economy depended on galactic trade routes. "Can you prove this?" asked. "Not conclusively," admitted. "Not in 6 hours." The Admiral made his decision. "We'll send the fleet, but we'll keep our best ships in reserve. We'll send 90% as requested, but that 90% will be our older vessels. Our carriers stay here." "The Council will notice," warned. "Let them notice," replied. "If this is legitimate, our older ships will still help. If it's not, we'll need our best defenses here." 4 hours later, Earth's fleet began to mobilize. Massive warships lifted from lunar orbit, their engines blazing bright against the darkness of space. Captain Song commanded the Sol Defense Forces, the 10% staying behind. He watched the fleet depart with a heavy heart. The main fleet jumped to faster-than-light travel, heading toward the Outer Rim. Admiral commanded from the flagship Unity. The journey would take 3 days. He spent those days reviewing every piece of intelligence had gathered. On the 3rd day, everything changed. Ambassador had remained at the Council chambers, attending emergency sessions about the crisis. She noticed strange things. Council delegates seemed too calm for a genuine emergency. Security forces had increased around the human quarters. When she tried to send a private message to Earth, her communication was blocked. Then she saw the fleet movements on the tactical display. Council warships were gathering at the edge of the Sol system, not heading toward the outer rim where the threat supposedly waited. They were surrounding Earth. Blood ran cold. She immediately tried to contact Earth Command, but all her channels were dead. Guard ships appeared outside her quarters. She was trapped. Back at Earth, Captain's sensors picked up the approaching Council fleet. Admiral Song, multiple contacts emerging from FTL, Council signatures. Rushed to the tactical station. His screen showed dozens of ships, then hundreds. They formed a blockade around the entire Sol system. Every jump point, every approach vector covered by Council warships. "Get me a channel to the Council flagship," ordered. The alien commander appeared on screen. His species had 3 eyes and scaled skin. "Captain Song, by order of the Galactic Council, the Sol system is now under protective quarantine." Protective quarantine, what does that mean? "It means humanity's expansion is over," the commander said coldly. "Your technology advances too quickly. Your military grows too strong. The Council has decided you are a threat to galactic stability." "We've broken no laws," protested. "You exist, that is enough." The transmission ended. Stared at the tactical display. 50 Council ships for every one of his. Earth's main fleet was 300 light-years away, scattered across the outer rim chasing a threat that didn't exist. Far away in the Council chambers, Ambassador sat in her locked quarters. She had one chance. She pulled a small device from her shoe, a personal communicator disguised as jewelry. It had limited range and even more limited power, but it might reach Earth. She recorded a single message. "It's a trap. They planned this. Activate Protocol 0. Tell them I'm sorry." She encrypted it with every code she knew, then sent it on a tight beam toward Earth. Seconds later, guards burst into her room and seized the device. On Earth, in a hidden bunker deep beneath Antarctica, an old computer system receives message. It had waited 50 years for this signal. Now, after decades of silence, it began to wake up. Protocol 0 was active. The Armageddon fleet was coming. Vice Admiral Song watched the Council ship spread across his tactical display like a tightening noose. His 10 remaining warships looked pathetic against the Council's 50 capital vessels. Every instinct screamed retreat, but there was nowhere to run. This was Earth. This was home. "Sir, receiving encrypted burst transmission," communications officer reported. "Source is Antarctica base." Frowned. Antarctica had nothing but research stations and ice. "Put it through." The message was short. Ambassador's voice strained and hurried. "It's a trap. They planned this. Activate Protocol 0. Tell them I'm sorry." Protocol 0 had heard rumors about it during his command training. Most officers thought it was a myth, a ghost story told to make new recruits feel safer. Could it actually exist? "Send secure message to Earth Command. Priority Alpha. Tell them we received Protocol 0 activation code." The young woman's eyes widened. "Sir, Protocol 0 is real." "We're about to find out." Below Earth's surface, in a bunker carved from Antarctic ice 70 years ago, lights began to flicker on. Dr. Han had lived in this facility for 15 years, waiting for a signal that might never come. She was 63 years old now, but her mind remained sharp. When the alert klaxon sounded, she moved faster than she had in years. "Status report," she called to her small team. Her assistant, a young engineer named Bay, checked multiple screens. Protocol 0 authentication confirmed. Source is Ambassador. Command codes are valid. Felt her heart pound. Begin awakening sequence. Contact all shadow facilities. Tell them it's time. His fingers flew across his keyboard. Sending activation codes to base. Thor Station, Valkyrie Shipyard, and 43 other locations. Across the solar system, hidden bases began to wake up. On the dark side of the moon, massive hangar doors opened for the first time in decades. In the asteroid belt, hollowed-out rocks revealed their true purpose. On Europa, beneath kilometers of ice, fusion reactors roared to life. Project Armageddon had begun 50 years ago, shortly after humanity joined the Galactic Council. Earth's leaders had been grateful for the invitation, excited to join the galactic community. But they weren't stupid. They knew humanity was weak compared to the other species. They knew the Council might someday see them as a threat rather than a partner. So they built Insurance, a secret fleet, constructed slowly over decades using resources the Council never knew about. They mined asteroids the Council thought were worthless. They built shipyards hidden by magnetic interference. They developed weapons that violated every Council treaty on warfare. And they waited. Doctor had designed most of these weapons herself. She remembered the debates, the moral arguments. Were they preparing for a threat that would never come? Were they becoming the monsters they feared? Now, watching Council ships threaten Earth, she had her answer. "How long until the fleet is ready?" she asked. "Minimum 6 hours for main systems, 12 hours for full combat readiness." "We might not have 12 hours. Above Earth, the Council fleet tightened their blockade. Admiral received a transmission from the Council commander. "Captain Song, you will order all orbital platforms to power down weapons. You will transmit command codes for your planetary defense grid. You have 1 hour to comply." Looked at his tactical officer. "What are our chances if we fight?" The officer didn't sugarcoat it. "0, sir. They'll destroy us in minutes." "Then we buy time." Opened a channel to the Council. "We need to consult with our government. Military commanders cannot make these decisions alone. Give us 12 hours. The Council commander's 3 eyes blinked slowly. "You have 6 hours. After that, we begin bombardment of military targets." 6 hours needed 12. Across Earth, emergency broadcasts went out. Civilians were told to evacuate cities near military bases. The message was clear without stating the obvious. War was coming. But something else was happening. The communications officer activated a network that most people didn't know existed. For 50 years, certain civilians had carried a secret. They were sleeper agents, ordinary people living ordinary lives, waiting for a code phrase they hoped never to hear. That phrase went out on thousands of private channels. "The harvest moon rises early." Teachers, factory workers, store owners, artists, hundreds of thousands of people across Earth and the colonies stopped what they were doing. They went to hidden caches, pulled out equipment they'd maintained but never used, and prepared to resist. On Mars, Commander received the activation code. He commanded a Marine battalion officially, but secretly, he led a resistance network built into the colony's underground tunnels. Mars had been partially built by Council contractors. Those contractors never knew that humans had dug extra tunnels, hidden weapons depots, prepared for this exact scenario. "Get everyone to the deep shelters," ordered his lieutenants. "Council ships are in orbit. They'll try to seize control of the main dome. Let them. We'll hit them where they're not looking." Back at base, deep in the asteroid belt, Fleet Admiral Minyu Shin watched his fleet come alive. He was 70 years old, officially retired for a decade. In reality, he'd never left active duty. He'd just gone to a duty station that didn't officially exist. 300 warships filled his screens, not the elegant Council designs with their smooth curves and aesthetic perfection. These were human ships, brutal and functional. They bristled with weapons. Their armor was twice as thick as anything the Council used. They had been built for one purpose: winning wars the Council thought were impossible. "Admiral, all ships report ready in 8 hours, his executive officer reported. Minyu nodded. "Tell them we launch in 6. Cut every corner, skip every safety check. We'll fix problems after we save Earth. On Europa, Captain One climbed into her fighter cockpit. She commanded an elite squadron that had trained for years in secret. Their fighters used experimental engines that could outrun anything the Council had. Their weapons ignored shields using quantum disruption technology the Council had banned centuries ago. All pilots, this is. Today we find out if all that training was worth it. Her squadron, 200 fighters strong, launched from hidden bays beneath Europa's ice. They formed up and began the burn toward Earth. Back on Earth, Doctor watched the countdown. 6 hours until the Council attacked. 6 hours until everything they'd built would be tested. Looked worried. Doctor, what if we're not ready in time? Thought about Ambassador, trapped on that Council station. She thought about Admiral, racing home 300 light-years away. She thought about every human living under the shadow of those Council ships. Then we buy time with whatever we have, she said quietly. The Armageddon fleet doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to be enough. The countdown continued. Above Earth, Council ships waited, confident in their overwhelming power. They had crushed rebellions before. They had enforced peace across 100 worlds. Humanity would be no different. They had no idea what was coming. The 6-hour deadline approached like an executioner's blade. Vice Admiral Song stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the Council fleet position themselves for bombardment. His hands were steady, but his heart raced. Every minute mattered now. "Sir, Council Commander is hailing us," reported. "Put him through." The alien's 3 eyes gleamed with satisfaction. "Captain Song, your time is up. Transmit your defense codes now or we open fire." Took a breath. "We need more time. Our government officials are still debating." "Your government has no choice. Surrender or watch your cities burn." The transmission ended. On the tactical display, Council ships charged their weapons. Energy signatures spiked across screens. They were really going to do it. Then, from the darkness beyond Jupiter, new contacts appeared. "Sir, multiple ships emerging from the asteroid belt." The tactical officer's voice cracked with surprise. "Reading 300 vessels, no transponders, unknown configuration." Felt hope surge through his chest. "Show me." The main display zoomed out. From the belt came a fleet unlike anything seen before. The ships were massive, angular, covered in weapon batteries. Their hulls were dark gray, almost black. No elegant curves, no decorative features. They looked like hammers built to smash through walls. At their head flew the flagship Defiant Dawn, and commanding it was Fleet Admiral Minyu Shin, a man the Council thought had retired years ago. Minyu sat in his command chair, studying the tactical situation. The Council had 50 capital ships around Earth. He had 300, but his ships were untested in real combat. Still, he liked these odds better than the ones faced. "All ships, this is Minyu. We've trained for this moment for decades. Today we show the galaxy that humanity bows to no one." He paused, letting his words sink in. "Weapons free, hit them hard." The Armageddon fleet opened fire. The Council had centuries of naval combat experience. They understood warfare as a calculated exchange of fire, shields absorbing hits, tactical positioning determining victory. They fought wars the way they governed, with rules, procedures, expected outcomes. Humanity fought differently. The first salvo from the Armageddon fleet wasn't elegant. It was overwhelming. Thousands of missiles launched simultaneously, each one guided by an artificial intelligence that had been outlawed by Council decree 200 years ago. The Council believed AI weapons were too unpredictable, too dangerous. Humanity didn't care what the Council believed anymore. The missiles swarmed like angry insects. They dodged, weaved, coordinated with each other in patterns no organic pilot could follow. Council point defense systems shot down hundreds, but thousands more got through. The first Council ship died in seconds, its shields overwhelmed by sheer numbers. Then another, then 5 more. "Target their command ship," Minyu ordered. "I want their admiral to know he made a mistake." Commander Yang, captain of the Defiant Dawn, coordinated the attack. Charging main cannon, target locked. The Defiant Dawn's primary weapon was something the Council had banned, a relativistic kinetic cannon. It accelerated a tungsten slug to a significant fraction of light speed. When it hit, it released energy equivalent to a nuclear weapon. The slug crossed the distance in seconds. The Council command ship's shields flared, held for a moment, then collapsed. The ship's hull crumpled like paper. "Direct hit," reported. "Their flagship is disabled." From Europa, Captain One and her fighter squadron arrived at the battle. Her 200 fighters were small, fast, and equipped with weapons that shouldn't exist. They carried quantum disruption torpedoes that simply bypassed shields, appearing inside enemy hulls before exploding. "Squadron, pick your targets. No survivors on those ships. They came here to conquer Earth." Her fighters dove into the battle. Council ships tried to target them, but the small craft moved too fast, their experimental engines pushing them to accelerations that would kill an unprotected pilot. People wore special suits that kept them alive through the crushing G-forces. Council ships started exploding from the inside as the quantum torpedoes found their targets. The Council fleet commander, still alive on his damaged flagship, couldn't believe what he was seeing. Where had these ships come from? How did humanity build such a fleet without anyone knowing? The intelligence reports said humanity had sent 90% of their forces away. This was supposed to be easy. He tried to regroup his forces, but the Armageddon fleet gave him no time. They pressed their attack with a ferocity that shocked him. This wasn't the diplomatic, cautious humanity that had joined the Council 50 years ago. This was something else, something dangerous. On Mars, the Council made their second mistake. They landed troops to secure the main colony dome, expecting frightened civilians and light resistance. Instead, they walked into Commander's trap. The Marines had turned the underground tunnels into a maze of ambush points. Council soldiers advanced cautiously through the main thoroughfares, not knowing that humans watched them from hidden passages in the walls, above the ceilings, beneath the floors. Gave the signal. Explosives detonated, sealing off escape routes. Human Marines emerged from hidden doors, hitting the Council troops from every direction. The battle was brutal and close range. The Council soldiers were trained, professional, but they'd never fought in such confined chaos. Within an hour, the Council force on Mars surrendered, transmitted footage of the defeat back to the Council fleet at Earth. The message was clear. Humanity would fight for every meter of ground. Back at Earth, the tide had turned. The Council fleet, caught between defense forces and Minyu's Armageddon fleet, tried to retreat, but the humans had positioned ships at every jump point. "Admiral, they're trying to flee," reported. Minyu's face was grim. "Let some of them go. I want survivors to tell the story of what happened here." "Sorry." "Let them tell the galaxy what happens when you attack Earth." The Council fleet broke and ran. 20 ships escaped. 30 more were destroyed or captured. The blockade of Earth was shattered in less than 3 hours of combat. On Earth, people emerged from shelters to see the wreckage floating in orbit. Council ships, burning and broken. And above them, the dark shapes of the Armageddon fleet, weapons still charged, ready for whatever came next. Dr. Han watched from Antarctica, tears streaming down her face. They'd done it. The project she'd spent half her life building had worked. But the cost? She saw the casualty reports from Mars, from the orbital platforms, from the fleet itself. Thousands dead. And this was just the beginning. Far away, Admiral received word of the battle. His fleet was still 2 days from Earth, racing home at maximum speed. When he heard about the Armageddon fleet, he felt relief mixed with anger. Relief that Earth survived. anger that such preparations had been needed at all. "Push the engines harder," he ordered. "I want to be home before the council decides to send reinforcements." Aboard a council station, Ambassador heard the news. Her guards had told her nothing, but she saw it in their faces. They looked at her differently now, not as a prisoner but as a threat. She smiled. Humanity had shown its teeth. The galaxy would never underestimate them again. But knew this wasn't over. The council wouldn't accept this defeat quietly. They would retaliate, and next time they would come with everything they had. The real war was just beginning. Admiral Park's fleet raced through faster-than-light space like hunted animals. Every hour brought them closer to Earth, but every hour also brought new intelligence reports. The Council was mobilizing. Ships from a dozen worlds converged on Sol system, outnumbering even the Armageddon fleet. "Admiral receiving updated tactical data from Earth Command," Captain said, his face illuminated by the blue glow of his screens. "Council is sending the enforcement armada, 2,000 ships." Felt the weight of those numbers. 2,000 against humanity's 400, even counting his returning fleet. The math was brutal. "How long until they arrive at Earth?" 4 days. We reach Earth in 2 days. Then we have 2 days to prepare for the biggest battle in human history. At Earth, Fleet Admiral Minyu Shin studied the same intelligence. His Armageddon fleet had won the first engagement, but he knew the truth. They'd won because of surprise and because the Council had underestimated them. That wouldn't happen again. He called a meeting of his senior commanders. Captain, Commander, Vice Admiral, and Doctor joined him in the war room via holographic link. "We can't win a straight fight," Minyu said bluntly. 2,000 ships will overwhelm us no matter how good our weapons are." "Then we don't fight straight," suggested. She had spent her career thinking about asymmetric warfare. "We make them bleed for every inch. We use tactics they won't expect." Doctor pulled up schematics. "I have weapons we haven't deployed yet, some of them. They're dangerous to everyone." "Show us," Minyu ordered. Displayed a device that looked like a black sphere. "This is a gravitational collapse bomb. We drop it near a planet or large moon, activate it, and it creates a temporary gravity well so intense that it pulls in everything nearby. Ships, debris, everything." "How temporary?" asked. 3 minutes. Then it collapses into itself and disappears. The problem is we can't control it perfectly. Our ships could get caught too." "What else?" Minyu pressed. "Nano-disassemblers. We release billions of microscopic machines that tear apart molecular bonds. They'll disassemble a ship in hours. The problem is stopping them. If they spread, they could become an environmental hazard." Shook his head. "These weapons are monstrous." "Yes," agreed quietly. "That's why the Council banned them. That's why I spent 30 years perfecting them. Because when someone comes to conquer your home, you use every weapon you have." Minyu made his decision. "Prepare all experimental weapons. If the Council wants total war, we'll give it to them." Meanwhile, on Mars, Commander had captured 30 Council soldiers. He treated them well, following the laws of war that Earth still respected even if the Council didn't. But he also questioned them, and what he learned changed everything. "Admiral Minyu, you need to hear this," transmitted to Earth. One of the prisoners, a Council officer, sat in a cell looking defeated. Played the recording for the human commanders. "The Council leadership is lying to their own people," the prisoner said. "Most Council species don't know about the attack on humanity. Our government told us you were rebels, terrorists who had attacked Council ships first." "Why tell us this?" had asked during the interrogation. "Because I've seen what really happened. I've seen the orders. This wasn't about security. 3 Council members wanted your technology. They wanted to study humans, control you, take what they wanted." The prisoner looked directly at the camera. "Not all of us agree with this. Some of us think the Council has become corrupt." The recording ended. Minyu sat back in his chair. If that's true, we have an opportunity. What opportunity? Asked. We're not fighting the galaxy. We're fighting a few corrupt leaders. If we can prove that, if we can show the other species what really happened. We might split the council, finished the thought. But first, they had to survive the enforcement armada. 2 days later, Admiral's fleet arrived at Earth. He brought 400 ships, most of them older models but all ready for combat. He met with Minyu in person on the Defiant Dawn. The two admirals studied each other. The career officer who had led Earth's official military for decades. Minyu, the ghost who had commanded a fleet that officially didn't exist. I should court-martial you for keeping secrets, said. Do it after we win, Minyu replied. If we lose, it won't matter anyway. They shared a grim laugh and got to work. The combined human fleet numbered 800 ships. They established defensive positions using the moon and orbital platforms. Engineering teams deployed automated defense drones by the thousands. Every asteroid in the belt was rigged with explosives or turned into a weapon. Humanity prepared for total war. 3 days after its arrival, the Council's enforcement armada emerged from FTL at the edge of the Sol system. 2,000 ships, representing 12 different species, all united under Council authority. Their commander sent a message to Earth. Humans, you have attacked Council peacekeepers. You have used illegal weapons. You have violated galactic law. Surrender now and we will show mercy. Resist, and we will destroy every human settlement from Mercury to Neptune. Minyu and stood together when they sent their reply. We attacked no one. You came to our home with conquest in mind, said clearly. You will find that humanity is not easy prey. We have evidence of your crimes, Minyu added. We have prisoners who speak the truth. The galaxy will learn what the Council really did here. And if you want Earth finished, you'll have to take it over our dead bodies. The Council commander's response was to advance his fleet. The battle that followed would be remembered for generations. The Council armada moved in perfect formation, shields linked, weapons charged. They expected another quick fight like at Mars. Instead, they flew into a maze of death. The first wave hit automated defense drones that into Council ships, carrying gravitational bombs. Dozens of Council ships were pulled into crushing gravity wells, their hulls crumpling like tin cans. The second wave encountered the nano-disassemblers. Clouds of invisible machines spread through their formations, and ships started falling apart, their hull plates separating, their systems failing as molecular bonds broke. The third wave faced the human fleet itself. Captain's fighters, now numbered at 500, struck like wasps, their quantum torpedoes appearing inside enemy ships without warning. Commander's Defiant Dawn led the capital ships in a charge that military logic. Instead of maintaining distance, they closed with the enemy, using their heavier armor to ram when necessary, firing at point-blank range where shields were weakest. The Council fleet had numbers, but humanity had desperation and fury. Every human in that battle knew what defeat meant. Not just death, but the end of human independence forever. Hours passed in brutal combat, ships exploded, debris fields spread across space. The moon's surface was by weapons fire. And slowly, impossibly, the Council advance stalled. But the cost was terrible. Half of humanity's fleet was gone. The battle raged for 18 hours. Space around Earth became a graveyard of twisted metal and frozen bodies. Admiral watched his fleet shrink with each passing hour. Half his ships were gone. A third of Minyu's Armageddon fleet had been destroyed, but the Council's losses were worse. 800 Council ships remained from the original 2,000. Their perfect formations had collapsed into chaotic fighting. Their commander had died when his flagship took a kinetic round to the bridge. Their morale was breaking. And then Ambassador changed everything. She had remained a prisoner on the Council's central station throughout the battle. Her guards had grown nervous as reports came in of the fighting at Earth. Some looked at her with fear now, this human whose species wouldn't surrender. Had spent those days working on a plan. She'd befriended a young guard, a member of a species called the. His name was, and unlike many council members, he asked questions. "Why do your people fight so hard?" asked one day. "The council offers peace, order, prosperity." "At what price?" replied. "We joined the council as partners. You came to make us slaves. Wouldn't your people fight if someone tried to enslave you?" Had no answer to that. When the battle reports came in, when saw the massive casualties on both sides, he made a decision. He helped escape her quarters and took her to the station's communication center. "You have 5 minutes," he told her. "Make them count." Access the station's main transmitter, which could broadcast to the entire galaxy. She had evidence, recordings, documents, intercepted orders. She'd been gathering them for weeks. Now she released everything. "People of the galaxy, my name is Ambassador of Earth. I speak to you from the Council's central station. What I'm about to show you is the truth about this war." She played intercepted communications, showing Council leaders planning the attack on Earth weeks before the supposed emergency. She showed documents proving the Void Swarm had been fabricated. She displayed orders explicitly stating that humanity's technology needed to be controlled before they became too powerful. "The Council didn't attack us for breaking laws," said. "They attacked us for being successful, for advancing too quickly, for threatening their control. Ask yourselves, if they did this to us, what would they do to you?" The broadcast reached every Council world simultaneously. On 12 different planets, people watched in shock as their leaders' lies were exposed. The effect was immediate. 3 Council species, the, and the Toral, their ships from the Enforcement Armada. 800 Council ships suddenly became 450. The remaining ships' morale collapsed completely. At Earth, the Council fleet began to retreat. Some ships ran. Others simply stopped fighting and requested to speak with human commanders. Admiral Menu broadcast a message to all Council ships. "We are not your enemies. We never were, but we will not be victims. Any ship that withdraws peacefully will not be pursued. Any ship that continues to fight will be destroyed." Within an hour, the battle was over. 300 Council ships fled through FTL jumps. 150 remained, their commanders requesting surrender terms. The victory was complete, but the cost was staggering. 400 human ships destroyed, 50,000 dead, Mars colony damaged, Earth's orbital infrastructure in ruins. Captain 1 was among the casualties, her fighter having taken a fatal hit protecting a damaged cruiser. And Menu stood on the observation deck of the Defiant Dawn, looking at the debris field that had been a battle. Neither man felt like celebrating. "Was it worth it?" asked quietly. "We're still free," Menu replied. "That's worth anything." The aftermath moved quickly. The and Toral formally from the Council and requested Earth's protection. Their leaders had seen the same evidence broadcast and realized the Council leadership was corrupt. Who had coordinated communications during the battle now became Earth's new ambassador. She helped establish what they called the Terran Alliance, a coalition of free species with no forced hierarchy, no secret councils making decisions for everyone else. The old council fractured. Some species remained loyal to the traditional leadership, others demanded reforms. Still others joined the Terran Alliance. The political structure that had ruled the galaxy for 2 centuries collapsed in weeks. The 3 council members who had ordered the attack on Earth were arrested by their own people. They faced trial for war crimes. It wouldn't bring back the dead, but it was justice of a sort. On Earth, cleanup and rebuilding began. Dr. Hand supervised the decommissioning of the most dangerous weapons. The nano-disassemblers were destroyed. The gravitational bombs were locked away in secure storage. but the Armageddon fleet itself remained active. "Why keep it?" a civilian official asked Minu. "The war is over." "This war is over," Minu corrected. "But humans have short memories. In 50 years, people will forget what we fought for. They'll think peace is natural, guaranteed. The Armageddon fleet is a reminder that peace requires strength." "It's also a threat," the official protested. "Yes," Minu agreed. "A threat to anyone who thinks humanity can be conquered. That threat keeps us safe." Commander received a promotion in command of Mars Defense Forces. He spent his time rebuilding the colony and training new Marines in the tactics that had won them the ground war. Aboard the Council station, Ambassador prepared to return home. The guard who had helped her faced charges for his actions, on his behalf. "This man showed courage when others showed only obedience," she told the tribunal. "He chose truth over orders. That's not a crime, that's heroism." Was acquitted and offered a position in the Terran Alliance. He accepted. 3 months after the battle, Admiral and Fleet Admiral Minu stood together at a memorial on the moon. 50,000 names carved into black stone, humans who died defending their home. Captain's name was there, along with thousands of others. "Do you think we did the right thing?" asked, "preparing for war while talking peace?" "I think we did what we had to do," Minu replied. "The Council taught us a lesson. Trust is good, but verification is better. Hope for peace, but prepare for war." That's a cynical way to live. It's a realistic way to survive. They stood in silence for a moment, remembering the dead. Then Minu spoke again. "The galaxy sees us differently now. Not as the newcomers, not as the primitives. They see us as equals. Some see us as threats." "And which are we?" asked. "Both. We're equals who won't be pushed around. We're threats to anyone who tries to take our freedom. That's the lesson of the Armageddon fleet." Above them, the dark ships of that fleet orbited Earth, silent guardians of a peace won through war. The galaxy had learned that humanity could be friends or enemies. The choice belonged to those who approached them. Earth had joined the Galactic Council 50 years ago as supplicants, grateful for inclusion. Now they led the Terran Alliance as equals, respected and feared. The transition had cost 50,000 lives and nearly destroyed the Sol system. But humanity remained free, and in the end, that was all that mattered. The Armageddon fleet stayed active, a reminder carved in steel and fire. Never again would humanity be caught unprepared. Never again would they trust without verification. Never again would they mistake others' weakness for their own. Peace was precious, but freedom was eternal, and humanity would pay any price to keep both.